Just give me a reason to keep my heart beating. Don't worry, it's safe right here in my arms. As the world falls apart around us, all we can do is hold on, hold on.
What is up, guys? DT Ninja here to give you guys my RuroKen Hokkaido Arc Chapter 28 review. Okay, guys, it's been about a month since the last review, so here we are with some more Kenshin. Before we actually get to the review, though, I wanted to share an item that I got from Japan. This is actually a puzzle of Kenshin and Kaoru. It's very beautiful. This is an old puzzle. Like one of the collectors I bought it from, they owned it like in the 2000s. So I mean, this is pretty old, but it's pretty cool, kind of vintage. But yeah, really cool. And they framed it, which is really cool. And then as you can see, there's actually like tape here. So actually, I can take the tape off, and I can actually take the frame off, and I can actually redo the puzzle myself if I want to do it. But yeah, just wanted to share that with you guys. Pretty cool. Okay, so this chapter, chapter 28, wow, okay. So we got the battle axe versus Futai Nokiwami, and this chapter is called Breaking Futai Nokiwami. Now this title is very interesting, and we're going to get to that, later on in the actual review. But what happened? So I wanted to do a little bit more than just sharing what I noticed, because I know you guys have read the chapter. I don't want to just explain what happened. I want to go more in depth. So I also want to point out some things that are lacking, because I don't want to be too biased as well. I want to be more balanced. So the first things first, we got a clash between two fighters. I mean, okay, Ono he does have a weapon, so he's like, you're no match for me, you're a brawler. Okay, and at the very end of the chapter, you can see Ono is holding his battle axe like this, and he calls it the breaking stance. And Sano is about to attack him, so that's where we start in the chapter. But what happens in this chapter is pretty crazy. So a lot of people were asking me, what in the hell happened? Did Sano just freaking block an axe with his back of his hand? Yes, he did. He blocked an axe with his hand. That was pretty crazy. Is Sano down and out? Did he get slashed across the chest? Yes, he did. He's down and out. He's knocked out. And then at the end, Sano stands up and he's like, wait a minute. Did you not check your left arm? And suddenly blood starts pouring out of the enemy's arm. So you're like, whoa, what the hell happened? So you're like, okay, Sano actually damaged his hand. He damaged his arm. And this is kind of devastating, because think about it. His power does have to do with like his blood vessels, so like that is really damaging. And when you think about it, Sanosuke got slashed across the chest. That has nothing to do with his power. His power is in his fist, right? And yes, he did get gashed, but at the same time, did it really take away his fighting power? It's almost, they're like on an equal playing field, and I love that about this chapter. It was like, oh my gosh, it kept me on edge, and I'm like, okay, Sano just blocked him. Yo, he just got destroyed. Okay, he's still alive. He's talking to him somehow, and then the end, you're like, whoa. Okay, the girl was the one talking to him, and you're like, oh my gosh, and that development of Asahi, that was really cool. So yeah, a lot of things happen in this chapter. Obviously, Kenshin, is starting to, his body's starting to fail. You can see his stamina is just getting weaker and weaker. And then, of course, they find the Otaro base. So that's kind of the chapter in a nutshell. It was pretty good. I thought it was brilliantly written. There are some things I wish that were more clear. One, Breaking Futai Nokiwami. That title is very ambiguous. Now, what I mean by that is when you look at the actual action, it makes you wonder if that is Sano's new technique, or is that the battle axe versus Sanosuke's Futai Nokiwami. So I did like that, but at the same time, I kind of wish it was more clear. And also, I wish that the whole scope of this arc was back. They actually have this battle, but also we have the main plot. Like Koshijiro is shown off somewhere, and we actually get part of the main plot again, because right now we're in one specific area, but the main plot is kind of, I'm not going to say it's forgotten, but it's there, but it's not there. And I wish it was. And maybe in the next chapter we'll get that, but that's kind of the downside of this chapter. Also, we don't see Saito's side of it in Sapporo, because we know there's two of these experimental battles, these combat field experiments, these combat experiments going on at the same time. So I really wish we got more fronts of that. But that's really the only thing I would say that this chapter was lacking. Another thing, a lot of people wanted to see Sano's new technique, but again, like I said, the title is very ambiguous, so it kind of begs the question, is that Sano's new technique? And we will get into that in the actual review. So yeah, that's just kind of it in a nutshell, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I wish was done. So now we're going to get to the main part, which is the things I noticed. You guys read the chapter, you know what happened, so I'm not going to go too in-depth on, what happens. I want to tell you what you may have not known or what you may have not have seen or noticed. So I have some notes here. I'm also going to share some of my keychains to talk about characters, as well as my volumes. So especially volume 4, because that has a scene which I want to share and discuss further. Okay, the first one, Ono's strategy. Like I said, in this chapter, strategic fighting. I love strategic fighting. So the Futai Nokiwami, this is explained by Ono himself, okay? You see Sano and he's jumping up in the air and he's about to land the Futai Nokiwami, right? Well, Ono is there and he's like, okay, this is what I know. And it shows the Book of Fierce Warriors. This is the book that the Kinkaku Heki have on all of the warriors of Japan. And one of them is Sanosuke. And we know this because Byakuya mentioned Sanosuke was one of those warriors back in chapter 8 when Kenshin first mentioned, how do you know about everybody from Japan? How do you know about me? And he talks about this, but now we're seeing it in full. It's a very detailed account of Sanosuke versus Anji, and you actually see like the actual battle there. So it makes you wonder how they get all this details and the nature of the technique itself. So it sounds like they know what the Futai Nokiwami is. However, they don't know how devastating it is. That's what I see in this. But it does beg the question, how do they know? Is there like a spy within the Jupongatana that is actually not part of the Jupongatana? He's just kind of there to take notes. Like, where are they getting all their information? It's very interesting, and it's mysterious, just like the Kinkaku Heki. And Saito mentioned this, I think it was in chapter 21, where he's like, okay, they have a dangerous amount of information on us, and their intel is very good. So it also begs the question, where are they getting it? So that's the first thing I noticed. Okay, changing of his stance. Okay, I mentioned this before, and I'm going to move slightly so you guys can see this. Okay, so in the last chapter, okay, you got we're going to call this the battle axe, the actual weapon of Ono. So let's pretend this is the axe, because it's got like I know it's a back scratcher, but anyways, this part is the axe. So you don't want your hand here when you swing the axe, right? It's not going to work. You want your hand here so you can smash down. Well, for some reason, he has his hands on, the hilt of the sword and the back of it. So he's like this when he's facing Sano. Well, in my translation, I mentioned that he grabs onto the hilt. That's actually wrong. I made a mistake on this. Now, sometimes the SFX, the sound effects, are difficult to translate because there's different ways to translate them, and it's all about context. Look at the picture. the picture shows his hand, okay? This is where I found it last night. So I was looking at it, and if he's grabbing it, you would see his hand, gripping it around. But no, it actually looks like his hand is actually going away from it, and you see like this explosion kind of text there. So it almost looks like he's letting go. He's letting go of the hilt of the sword. And so he's got it in one hand. And let's put it in my other hand, because this is my dominant hand. Okay, so he has it here. He lets go. So he has it with one hand, right? And so the next moment, I noticed this, it shows another explosion text. So he's gripping it. And this one is where he's gripping it. And he's like, okay, so Sanosuke, his Futai no Kiwami has to be met with another Futai no Kiwami. I have no way of doing that. So how do I break it? How do I stop it? So he's like, okay, so I'm going to use it with one hand. He uses his fist like this, and he swings down, and his axe is right here. And Sanosuke's right hand, I know this is my left hand, but he swings it down where his axe is actually against his back of his hand right here. And he's like, there's no way he can dodge this. There's no way he can, use his technique. Well, Sanosuke actually blocks it. He blocks it first and then moves it into an uppercut and breaks the axe in half. You see it like crack in half. So this was pretty crazy, right? So we actually see like it happening as it's going, so he goes down with full force. And you would think, if you have both hands and you're swinging an axe, you would have full force. But for some reason, he uses one hand, which is really strange. He uses one hand. I mean, it's going to be still strong, but he blocks it. And then Sanosuke uppercuts it, and he breaks it. So you can see like the axe, blade, it's actually cracking. And then below here, it starts to crack, and then it breaks in half. And then he moves forward because he still has it in his hand, and he gashes Sanosuke's, fist here all the way down here. So you can see Sanosuke's fist is pretty injured. But what this does, okay, I wanted to demonstrate that. So what this does, and this goes to, like I said, he tries to prevent the Futai no Kiwami. He blocks it. He breaks his weapon. Yes, he gets damaged. But what this does, it exposes Ono's weapon. So Ono is the breaking battle axe, right? He has a battle axe, okay? That's his main thing. His weapon is like his strength. No. Just like in the last discussion I was talking about, dude, I think Ono had anything beside his actual weapon. I was completely wrong. But Sano exposes him. This weapon is a cheap imitation. Just like the Kinkaku Heki, they are weaponized swordsmen. But their weapons are not actual real weapons. That is what Sano exposes in this chapter. Because he breaks the weapon, which he calls a trial sword, with ease and cracks it in half. Yes, his arm is, pretty badly damaged, but he exposes him. He says it's a spear disguised as a sword. It's not a real sword. And that explains why the hilt is right by the axe. It's disguised as a sword, but it's actually a spear. And that's when, he's able to gash him. So that was interesting. He exposed the Kinkaku Heki. He says they are an exaggerated name. It's an exaggerated name. So that was really cool. Okay, and then the sight of Sano's blood actually causes Ono to react. He actually opens his mouth, and in the panel below, it looks like he's about to bite him. And what it reminded me was of Shishio, Makoto Shishio, okay? We're talking about Makoto Shishio. When Shishio is fighting Kenshin in the death battle in Kyoto, he bites him in, I think it was in the neck, right? He bites him in the neck or in the shoulder. But anyways, he bites him like a cannibal. This kind of reminded me of it because it had he was going for the bite. And he even said, I'm going to eat your guts. But he bites down at his own teeth. And blood comes out of his eyes. This was really unique. It's really interesting, bizarre at the same time. And Sano is like looking like, what in the hell is going on? And then he proceeds to use his Futai Nokiwami still. He still uses his Futai Nokiwami, and at the same time, Ono, he actually bulks up, his arm, his blood vessels, you see them like enlarge, and suddenly he has like his 4 fingers. They're all the same length, which is really crazy. And we learn how this is possible. But he puts his 4 fingers like this, and you see him, and he just like death blow right to Sanosuke's chest. I mean, it's supposedly a death blow. He slashes him across the chest, and Sanosuke is like in shock, and probably because of all the blood. I mean, he loses a lot of blood in this battle. So he gets gashed all across his chest. He falls to the ground. He's got blood coming out of his arms, and Ono is like, okay, he's done. I finished him off. That was too much. I didn't think I'd have to go that far. So that was crazy, right? But then there's more to it, right? There's more to it. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But that was pretty crazy, that killing blow. But when you remember, when I told you he did the Futai Nokiwami first, that is strategic of Sanosuke, which we have never seen out of Sanosuke. He actually uses strategy. There's a reason behind him using the Futai Nokiwami, even though the enemy strikes him. He actually does damage to him without him even knowing, which was really interesting. Okay, the next thing, breaking Futai Nokiwami. I kind of forgot to mention this, but the actual title of the chapter is Breaking Futai Nokiwami. So if you look at it, you see Futai Nokiwami on one side, and you see Ono on the other side. And if you look at it in Japanese, it says Futai Nokiwami and breaking on the other side. So I made it breaking Futai Nokiwami. Now, is this Sanosuke's new technique? Is it a new technique? I really wonder if that's true, but if you look at the scan, they're both fighting each other. It almost seems like the breaking is Ono. He's the breaking battle axe. Sanosuke has the Futai Nokiwami, so it's both of them clashing with their powers together. That's what I see it as. But then there's another interpretation. This is what I like about this. It could be also the Futai Nokiwami is breaking. He actually broke through the Futai Nokiwami because he gashed him, right? He cut him. There is that interpretation. And then, like I said, there's the other interpretation where it's actually Sanosuke's new technique. But I just don't think it's that, because I feel like it's both techniques against each other. That's my feeling. But I like the idea that you can interpret it many ways. Number 8. Kenshin is out of breath, okay? We go on to the scene where Kenshin is. You got like massive panic. People are running around. Fires everywhere. You got guns firing and, complete panic. Panic, chaos. And then there's even a woman that Kenshin has to save because people are running around and going crazy. Kenshin mentions to Kanryu that I'm going to go off, they're going to split up, and he needs to go on with Aran and Ashitaro to find the Kenkaku Heiki's base. And when they do, they need to fall back so then they can meet up somewhere. This is a kind of like a meeting between them before they go and fight them. So I like this. And then, before Kenshin says, I'm going to leave, I need to do something first, he says to Ashitaro, when the time comes, I'm counting on you. Now, he doesn't actually say what it is, but the fact that he's saying, I'm counting on you, it means he's entrusting him with a fight. He's obviously telling him that you're going to help me fight whoever we have to fight. And I love that. I love how it's showing that. But it goes back to Kenshin's stamina. It's going back to him being out of breath. He's not going to be able to fight a major fight here. Ashitaro is going to have to help him. So I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see that. Okay, this begs the question, where is Kenshin going? Is he going to the source of the fires? Is he going to where the gunshots are being fired to stop them? Is he going to help out the townspeople? What is he doing? Where is he going? Is he going to, see where Asahi is? Because remember, he didn't even notice that Asahi is missing. Or was Asahi a part of this whole plan? That's another thing. Was Asahi and Sano already planned out to be together in that fight with Ono? That's another thing to think about. But obviously they couldn't think on the fly like that. So maybe they did come up with something like that. But I don't know. There's a lot of good questions that can be further discussed in the next video. So what do you guys think? Okay, the next thing. Number 9, Kenshin is counting on Ashitaro to help his fight. We also talked about this, so I kind of did both of those. Number 10, Sano is face down. Okay, he's face down on the ground. He's bleeding out. Ono thinks that Sano is dying. He thinks that he's finished. And he's like, okay, I never thought that I'd have to. And he's like, because his knuckles are kind of like all raggedy, and he's like putting them back together, and he's like, I never thought I'd have to resort to my trump card, which means he just used his best technique, his strongest technique, which is very interesting because you usually don't reveal that to your enemy. But anyways, he does reveal it to him. Suddenly, right after that, Sano starts speaking to him. He's on the ground face down, and he starts talking to him. And so, for some reason, Ono, he's like, okay, well, the dead, it's disgraceful for the dead to ask questions like this. And, he's kind of right, why would you ask this if you're face down like that? But he goes on to explain, he opens up about his splitting axe fist, which, by the way, is the reason why he's called the breaking battle axe. Technically, it's a splitting axe, but anyways, that's why he's called the breaking battle axe, not because he has a battle axe as a weapon, but he creates a weapon out of his fist, out of his fingers. That's where his actual strength lies. So that was very interesting. And he goes on to explain, like, you dip your fingers into iron sand, which is really, really tough stuff, and you do it like 100,000 times until your fingers are the same length. That's pretty crazy. So that's where the splitting axe fist comes from. And then Sano's like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the blood coming from your eyes. What the hell is that? So then he goes on to explain, he reveals the true nature of the Kinkaku Heki's true power. I'm talking about brilliant strength. Brilliant strength happens when you have this idea of your blood, actually the blood stream being suppressed, your stationary muscles, and you're able to create this new strength, this kind of super strength almost. And apparently he reveals that his ancestors, the Kamakura samurai, were the first to use this. And after lots of research and a long quest, he's come to the conclusion that brilliant strength is the true strength of Kinkaku Heki. In fact, you must have brilliant strength in order to be a Kinkaku Heki full-fledged member. And according to them, they get it at birth and they train to use it at will. So they control it at will. So this is a very interesting thing because that means all Kinkaku Heki members have this. This is one of the true strength of Kinkaku Heki. It has nothing to do with their actual nicknames. This has to do with their actual, power, their actual power they use. So it's very interesting. This also is another thing. Byakuya, because she mentions, Sano mentions that Byakuya didn't use this. And the reason is because he reveals that Byakuya was holding back. He wasn't using his brilliant strength. So that means Byakuya is even stronger than what we thought. He's actually stronger. And that explains why his comrades are afraid of him. because in in volume 4, I'll show you what I'm talking about. In volume 4, we see him talking about him while he's down on the ground here, and you see his comrades saying it would have been better off if he's dead. And why would his own comrades say that? Because his power is obviously off the charts. It's scary. And if you think about it, Kenshin used all of his power to take him out, and he wasn't even using all of his power. That's crazy to think about. But yeah, that's very interesting. And it also brings another discussion question. Is Byakuya one of the strongest members? Because originally we thought he was the leader. He may not be the main leader, but is he the strongest? That is something to think about. We're going to talk about that in the discussion questions in the next video. But yeah, I found it very interesting. So yeah, Byakuya was holding back against Kenshin and Saito. That's scary. That's very scary. Okay, the next thing, we see why Asahi was considered a spy, because her espionage skills are crazy. Okay, we think Sano is talking to Ono this whole time, and it's actually not Sanosuke. It's actually the little girl Asahi. Asahi is talking to Ono. She's mimicking his voice, mimicking Sanosuke's voice, even with an echo, because his face is down on the ground. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crafty and, pretty awesome. That was really great to see. Great development on her character. She's like, I wish I would have brought more out of you. And then, Ono is just pissed off and she runs off. And why did I say that Kenshin might be going after her? Because maybe they're going to meet up. Maybe he's going to get some information on him. But it just, all that kind of is very interesting to think about. But yeah, I liked Asahi in this chapter. It was really great. You think it's Sano, but it's not. Asahi even tells Sano to keep playing dead, you idiot. It kind of begs the question, was this a plan? Was this a plan? Or is she just trying to confuse the enemy that it was a plan? And I think that might be it. She's trying to confuse the enemy. This was a plan all along. Stay dead. Play dead. Yeah, so that was really great. And then, of course, Sano gets up and he's like, Asahi wasn't just trying to save me. While you were busy trying to, kill me, I actually did damage to you. Look at your left hand. And then suddenly, you see the blood coming out, and actually he damaged him. This was the strategic part that I really liked. Sanosuke actually did damage to him, and you can actually see like the damage bubble where he actually hits him, with the Futai Nokiwami before the strike came. So before he actually hit him, he actually did damage to him, which could be the reason why Sanosuke is still alive. I don't know, but that's really interesting to think about as well. But yeah, it leaves Sanosuke and him laying out all their cards. They're on a level playing field. They have one last attack against each other. So round 3 is going to happen in the next chapter. So really good stuff. The last thing, Ashitaro, Aran, and Kanryu find the base of the Kenkaku Heiki, but are hesitant to attack. Right? They're hesitant to act. They don't want to rush in there. And I like Kanryu's confidence. He's like, I'm not going to rush into there just like you, that sword fool. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to be cautious. They find it. So once they find it, they're supposed to, fall back and think of a strategy of how they're going to approach their mission. And they're probably going to have to wait for Kenshin, obviously. But that's my take on the chapter, guys. Those are the things I noticed. I really enjoyed this chapter. I kind of wish it had more from Saito's part. I also wish it had more from the main plot. But overall, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. This chapter was awesome. It was brilliant. I love strategic fighting. The part where Asahi reveals that she was playing Ono all along, that she was just drawing information out of him, that was just priceless. That was awesome. It was great to see her development. There will be another discussion. That will be next week, so stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys in the next one.